The flame-grilled Whopper from Burger King. The most food-filling burger.
Is it, though?
Is that?
Yes. A slightly better version of you.
I don't understand.
Just like the new Whopper that's juicier and tastier than ever before. Same, but hits different. That's my line now.
Oh, sorry.
Whopper never tasted so good. Order now on the Burger King app.
The Go Radio Football Show with Burger King. Save big with 6 chili cheese bites for just £1.99. Crispy on the outside, smooth and spicy on the inside. Order now on the Burger King app.
Let's go!
Thank you, Connor, for the news. He's off to the football tonight. Firhill, Partick Thistle in action. What a result for them at the weekend against St Johnstone. Tonight it's Dunfermline. And in Motherwell, our producer tonight, he's off to the match at Fir Park, Motherwell against Hibs' young Gary. Well, with us tonight, young Peter Grant.
Thank you, Paul.
Cheers. Trades Descriptions Act already offended. And the ever young Mark Guidi. Mark?
Good evening, Paul.
Good evening. So, any AGMs abandoned today? Any sackings at Ibrox or Parkhead? Or, wow, what
qualifying
a week so
for
far.
a World Cup? No, it's been quite quiet. It's been quite quiet so far, but it could all change in the next 2 hours. Let's see how it goes.
Peter, huge games tonight. I mean, what about Motherwell? I mean, Hibs as well, but for Motherwell moving up the table, and tonight a win would be massive.
Oh, they've done terrific, and to be fair to them, you know, the manager stuck by his principles. It's cost them at times in games, certain games, but I like to see that somebody that's got a belief in what their players are doing, and the players believe them. You can see that they'll get caught at times, and even sometimes in the Kilmarnock game at the weekend there, you seen them giving the ball away in strange areas. They could have been punished, they didn't. They get away with it and they get the victory, and it's a fantastic victory away from home.
And Mark, as you know, if Motherwell win tonight, it's a big if against a rejuvenated Hibs. Just a year ago that David Gray could have got the sack, but if Motherwell win tonight, they join Rangers chasing the top of the table.
Yeah, it's been great, you know, and considering it's a new manager, he's got them, you know, they've bought into his ideas very, very quickly. There was 1 or 2 question marks at the start in terms of, was he a wee bit open, gambling too much at the back, the goalkeeper playing 40 yards for his goal, etc, etc, but the players have really bought into it. As you say, a fantastic result. It's struggling Kilmarnock, and a great incentive for both teams tonight, for everybody going along to the game at Fir Park. And I know the Celtic manager Martin O'Neill will be there tonight running the Röhl over Hibs ahead of their game on Sunday afternoon. They're in for a cracking contest at Fir Park tonight.
So Martin O'Neill will be there at Motherwell against Hibs. Gary, looking forward to the game at Partick Thistle. I see the manager Mark Wilson was saying he get married last Sunday, and he was speaking to Leanne, his new wife. I don't know if she was that interested, but she's in a senior position in one of the biggest motor companies in Europe, because he was talking not tactics, just about common sense in business, Peter. And I think that's been part of the things that's guided you over the years. All your success in management and playing is a good wife beside you.
Oh, 100%, that's for sure. You know, telling you what to do, really. She's the boss. You can be the boss elsewhere, but in the house there's only one boss, that's for sure. And it's set me in good stead. But for Mark Wilson, talking about that game, that was a return game. I seen the first game of the season, and they were beat 5-1, and I mean it was 5 going on 10 with St Johnstone that particular day. So to come back and have the results he's had and the performances he's had is magnificent. And in his first job, I know he had a little bit of a period there, but when you're taking it as the boss, he's come in and done an unbelievable job.
No fighting, you two, tonight. I just switched on last night and I just got in after the programme, and we'll talk about that in a minute or two. In fact, we've got a call about it, 0808 17 17 700, although I thought Davy Moyes spoke about it well afterwards. If you didn't see it, we're going to tell you in a moment or two. There was a bit of a altercation between teammates at Everton, but they still won the game. But I'd never seen anything, well, not for a long time. Mark, what's the latest? The news broke at midday yesterday that Patrick Stewart, his 11 to 12 months is over as chief exec, and Kevin Thelwell, 6 months as sporting director. It's over.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that it's happened, particularly with Kevin Thelwell, but I'm surprised at the time. I thought if it was going to happen, it would have happened 4 or 5 weeks ago, but they allowed it to be part of the process for the new manager. They allowed him to bring in his son as head of recruitment. They allowed him to bring in a set piece coach last week that he also worked with at Wolves. I think the head of academy, you guys coming in, who he also worked with at Wolves, a recurring theme there. But I think if you assess Kevin Thelwell, it depends what you want to judge a director of football on, or whatever his title was. But if you're going to judge it in signings, I don't think they've been they've been good enough, Paul. So the search is on. Patrick Stewart wasn't overly surprised at that. You'll know better than me, Paul. Can a chief executive come in interim? The Americans inherited Patrick Stewart, so you tend to find they'll do about a year or so and then they'll move on. Now, moving forward, David Weir, former Rangers captain, title-winning skipper, has been linked with the job. He was a fantastic director of football, sporting director at Brighton. He's now at Strasbourg, which are part of the Chelsea group. My information is David Weir will not be the new guy that Rangers bring in. They will be looking timing wrong elsewhere. He's just started a new job, yes, Paul, and I think he's very settled, very, very grateful to the Chelsea group for taking him in. I think Davey might have been offered a similar role at Rangers maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and politely declined. He has, a Rangers supporter, a lot of strong feelings for the club, a lot of good memories there, but the timing's not right for him. So I'd be very, very surprised if it's David Weir. I think it'll be someone else.
Rangers fans, what do you feel? 0808 17 17 700. We'll talk more about Celtic. I listened to the programme Friday night. I was through coming back from Edinburgh, and well, Peter, who would have thought the AGM would be abandoned? It wasn't a good look. We're going to come back to that in a moment or two. Josh is on the line. Hi Josh, good evening.
Right, Paul. Right, boys.
Hi Josh. Good, Josh.
Choice in question for the boys. So after what happened last night between the aforementioned Garner Gay and Michael Keane, what's it like when there's that kind of friction in dressing rooms from maybe your own experiences, and how should it maybe be dealt with? David Moyes said that he encourages it, but certain managers might see that as a big problem within a dressing room culture or team environment. And from a journalist point of view, Mark, it's a good story opportunity and headline grabbing, isn't it? Because we seldom see that kind of thing anymore in this modern day and age with football, where it's a bit more sanitised and it isn't rough around the edges as much, is it? So go on, boys.
All right, Peter, what did you make of it?
I can talk about we had the right few incidents, but not on the pitch. There was a few choice words on the pitch, but in the dressing room for sure. I mean, there were fisticuffs through a few times. I think we always respected that on the pitch. I mean, I'd have been wanting to fight with me every week because I was moaning face all the time. I was never done shut up on the pitch, and many a time me and Big Mick McCarthy get sent down for training one day for having a go at each other when we were in the same team. And Gaffer, Big Billy at the time, sent us down the road. Little did he know, me and Big Mick had come up in the same car together. So we were waving at them as we were getting sent down the road, and the two of us were in the same car, and everybody was killing themselves. But the one thing about that particular time was we were always, before you left the park, after training predominantly, that was done and dusted.
Was it always?
Always. And there was only one other time I lifted my hands in the dressing room, was at Arbroath, believe it or not, for Celtic against Arbroath. I think Danny was a manager at Arbroath.
I remember. Yep.
And we beat them 9-1 in the League Cup. I'm sure, maybe Mark will correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was something like 9-1. And right at the end of the game, Darius Dovcek tried a step over at the edge of the box, lost possession at 9-0, gave the ball away and the boys scored. And I thought it was disrespectful to Celtic supporters and Danny McGrain more so. So I wasn't happy at all. And I'm in the dressing room and I'm trying to slug him one for being disrespectful to Danny McGrain, who was my hero. And that was the only time I lifted my hands in the dressing room. Arguments, 100%. Training ground, want to go for each other for sure. But it was always done and dusted. I think the particular days, last night on the pitch, it didn't look. I thought Michael Keane got away with it a little bit because he's went and shoved the head in the boy's face. And I don't think anybody would like that. Okay, he shouldn't lift his hand.
He's that bit taller.
Yeah, I think it's just a reaction. And I'm sure the boy regretted it right away. But I'd said to my boy, I was sitting with my boy watching the game, and I said, you know something? That's not going to bother Moisey. Moisey will run up the tunnel at half time, and all he'll be interested in how we prepare for the second half. And then he'll deal with it at the end of the game or today at training. That's the only way you can, because if you start going to say, oh, you shouldn't have done this, and it goes to and from, you forget about the most important thing is the match. And I think I thought he spoke very well after. I know a lot of people wouldn't be happy with the fact, oh, I hope more of my players fight. It doesn't mean that physically all the time. It doesn't mean it that way. I know exactly what he meant.
The passion.
There's a time. There's a time.
Mm-hmm. Mark, your take on it?
I'm just envisaging, trying to imagine Peter slapping Darius Dovcek with a smoky up in the
very good.
up in Arbroath. Anyway, last night, Josh's point journalistically, Josh, of course, it's a story. It's live on Sky, so you could see Roberto Martinez, Jamie Carragher all over it. The interview at the end with Dewsbury Hall, who scored the goal, he described it as a moment of madness. But Peter's spot on. David Moyes did handle it superbly well at full time. But it was obviously a lot easier because they get a great win. His first win at Old Trafford as a visiting manager, and a brilliant 3 points considering they played more than 77 minutes with 10 men. Had they lost, different story. But right, at half time, you cannot allow that to become a sideshow. There is nothing you can do about it. They're 1 goal up. You keep them organised. You just remind them to keep doing the good things that they were doing. And the great thing for Everton, they were in control, 11v11, and they kept it going. So
do you think that helped them in a funny way? In that there had to be this siege mentality.
It needed to be. I mean, Pickford's had a couple of outstanding saves, but Everton were very, very comfortable because as a unit, they've got Ndiaye and Grealish, which are great outballs for them. You'll get them up the pitch. I think if Davy can get a proper number 9 in January, I can see Everton being top half towards the end of the season.
Okay, knows what he's doing, David. You know what I mean? And I think you've got to give him great credit. People talk about he plays a certain way. He's done fantastically well at West Ham twice. He's now doing his second time at Everton fantastically well. I mean, just talk about they two. Nobody can complain about him. I mean, even last night I'm watching it. The centre forward won the most headers in the Premier League this season, and a couple of weeks ago he couldn't do nothing. So he's obviously saying him, you be up there, you be that target for us, because we've got the boys round about, as Mark says, that can carry the ball. But I think his experience told him that probably a less experienced manager maybe would have had to get in and wouldn't have thought of getting up the tunnel first and organising for the second half. An inexperienced manager would begin to say, what you done, letting us down, da. He didn't. He was a complete opposite.
I noticed as well, like the picture's got when he's jogging, he wants to be first up with Tottenham. I think he'll also want to be first in that dressing room just to make sure there's no second, there's no afters. Just get in, be in control, make sure that none of the boys either the boys been set up out the road or whatever.
You'd send him away anyway, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you
have to go from
you just want to get in there, control his dressing room and make sure there was no afters.
Do you have to leave the dressing room? If you've been sent off, do you have to go to the stand?
No, you can be in the dressing room, Paul, as long as you don't come out around the side of the pitch to the dugout. You can stay there. But I'm sure David, Mark's 100% right. They probably went in himself and said, listen, you stay in the shower room or go out the dressing room now, because I don't want anything else coming of this. I'm wanting to just talk about the players that's going to be involved in the second half. And to be fair, I thought they were excellent last night and everything they'd done. I thought Man United were the opposite. Because I was really, really surprised with the experience of a manager. He putting on a right footer on the left hand side. All these things. But it was great for David Moyes, and absolutely delighted, and it shows you how good a manager he is.
Exactly, and there's a kilt in that story. Mark, I'm looking at you because Josh, we always had a thing in journalism, you have to have a kilt in the story. Why are we talking about Everton against Man United? This is not low, Liverpool's own or Manchester's own here, or EO, Everton's own. This is Glasgow's own. So Davy Moyes, he's not Glasgow, is he?
He is.
I know fine well. I used to see him play. That's fantastic. What a night we had for Sir Alex Ferguson just after you were there, Mark. I think in 29. It was in 2013, just after Sir Alex, Josh, had just stood down. So that was the August. The season kicked off. The September, a night for the STV Children's Appeal. They were all there. It was amazing. Davy Moyes came along as Man United manager. Graham Souness was there. There were so many others. Tom Hunter, Lord Willie Hockey, the business show, even before we knew we had a business show. Jim White, sure, Jim was brilliant. Where are we going with this? There's so many things happening, Josh, with this one. Josh, what are you thinking? Wilfred Nosey, it looks as though he will be coming as Celtic manager, yet to be confirmed. Martin O'Neill will be in the dugout in Feyenoord on Thursday for the game there, and then also at the weekend. Mark, is that the latest?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, Martin O'Neill will be at Motherwell Hibs tonight with a view of running the Röhl over Hibs. Paul, I'm going to say that I think it's a mistake to if this is going to be Martin O'Neill's last game on Sunday. If Martin O'Neill wins on Sunday, I would not change it. I would not change it because you've got Hearts coming to Celtic Park the following week. You've got a cup final the week after that. I would give Martin O'Neill to the cup final. Now I get it if Wilfred Nancy said, well look, I'm your man, I want to get in there with my staff and get started. I get that, but it's all about momentum, and Martin O'Neill's getting a tune out those players. So I would have serious reservations about them. I also want to say as well, Paul, one or two Celtic fans online turning against Martin O'Neill for his comments on Friday, a wee bit of momentum trying to gather. Absolutely disgusting. He was not brought in to help broker peace between the board and the Celtic collective. He was brought in to win games of football, and when he stepped through the door at 10 minutes notice, Celtic could hardly score a goal, never mind win a game. He's played 4 domestic games, 9 points out of 9, and beat Rangers in a semi-final. If some people out there try to tarnish that, just think twice. He is a football manager, and when he's asked questions about that AGM, very, very difficult position for him to be put in, but ultimately he's there to win games, and the Celtic supporters should be grateful for the job that he's done in the past month. They shouldn't be lining up to criticise him.
Great comment. I agree, for what it's worth. Peter, what would you say?
I would go further with Martin, because I would keep Martin to the turn of the year, because even if you put a manager in place at this moment in time, it doesn't matter. Everybody can know if it's going to be Nonsi or whoever or Paul Cooney. It doesn't matter. You pick the team, you will look at the players, you can look at the team now without the pressure of going out there to try and win a game. And Martin's experience tells you that he can handle this situation at this moment in time. So I would go beyond the cup final. I would go to the turn of the year. Nonsense, I think season's not long finished anyway, so sometimes you need that wee bit of respite. But I would give him that time, if it is him or whoever it is, to look at the players, look at the squad, look at all the games that Celtic have been involved in, and see what he needs. Then you know when he comes into that transfer window, there's no excuse, because he can't come and say, well, I need to see what I wanted, or I need to see what I needed here. He'll know all about the injuries, he'll know who'll be long term, all these things, if it's the manager. So for me, I would definitely keep Martin O'Neill, because God forbid if Celtic did lose even a couple of games between now and the end of the year, all of a sudden there's a massive pressure on that new manager if he's the one that's in place. With Martin's earned more than enough to go through as Celtic manager, and I think he's getting a tune out. The game the other night there wasn't great, of course.
No. I mean, it was really poor, wasn't it?
But Paul, the bottom line is they won.
What was the score?
They won, and that's Celtic. You know, that's what we've always said. That's what you've got to have. You've got to keep going. They found a way. They didn't play well at all, but they found a way to win the game, and I believe that comes for the sort of pressure that Martin will put on them, because he'll not have much to say to the players. He gets kids on, he doesn't know their names, he ain't no dummy in any shape or form, and that's why I would sit with Martin just now and let the new manager sit, whether he's in the stand, whether he's watching everything else. He's named, no problem, but Martin, could you run that if Martin wants to do that?
And Martin, I think you make a great point there about the fans. It's almost an entitlement. This is Martin O'Neill. He walked into Glasgow, he was brought in when Celtic were in real trouble. Rangers were dominating, and he came in and he won a treble in his first year. I mean, and Rangers had been dominant. The way he transformed it, bringing into the 21st century, and since then Celtic have dominated Scottish football.
Paul, you can look at Martin O'Neill's 5 years in charge. He set the tone, set the standard for what Celtic are now still reaping the rewards 25 years later. There's no doubt about that, because when Martin O'Neill came in, what did Rangers do? They chased it financially. Martin O'Neill's team, Torrey Andre Flo at 12 million quid, etc., etc., ended up getting into the trouble that happened 5-6 years later. So no, I found it really distasteful. One or two online having a go. You know, he came in at a moment's notice. You know, it wasn't about what am I earning, what am I getting. No, it was about Celtic needs help. They need help. I'll come up and help it. I also think as well, I think it's disrespectful to Martin O'Neill in terms of this kind of hang on for a game. You're talking about Martin O'Neill here. Give him to the cup final, put it in place, give him to the cup final. He's winning games. Paul, look what he inherited. He inherited a team that was going nowhere. They're now a point behind Hearts, 3 clean sheets in the league, and they've scored a number of goals as well, and they beat Rangers to get to a cup final. So I think I'm not saying Wilfred Nancy isn't the right man for the job. My point is the timing of putting him in, I think it's a big gamble when you've got a guy that's doing really well.
Josh, do you agree?
Yeah, there's always that risk when you appoint a new manager, isn't there? I mean, Martin stabilised the ship. He's got the optimism back in terms of the playing staff. The experience and sage-like wisdom that he's brought, and the nostalgia has been really nice. But you know, you have to get the new era eventually. And if this guy's the man that they want, they have to go and get him as soon as possible. And in my opinion, anyway, fans will disagree with me, but I think if the right man's there and he's available and he's got the contract on the table, get it put in front of him and get it signed. And just one last point, boys. Sports Personality of the Year has been announced for the 18th of December. Should Scott McTominay's name be on the list, given what he's done for not only Napoli but for Scotland, and that outrageous overhead kick the other week that I'd be screaming down the microphone at work when I was trying to call bingo. So yeah, thoughts on that?
Brilliant. Okay, what do we think, Peter?
Yes. One word, yes.
Sports Personality of the Year?
Yeah, but why he's went, not just for Scotland and the way he's played, the way he's handled it. You know, going to Italy and living the life like the Italian, buying into what they've got to do, and the biggest thing is perform on a big stage with massive pressure. He's managed to do all that, and he's come out and top player last season, and this season again he's adjusted again and been fantastic for Scotland also.
Mark, would that mean Rory McIlroy would be runner-up, having won the Masters this year? Remember,
you've got the Lionesses,
yes, indeed,
as well. So you've got lots in there. Steve Clark, why Steve Clark?
Sir Steve,
Sir Steve, why he should be involved. There's a lot of good ones, but it would be wrong if the BBC didn't have at least one Scottish person on their shortlist.
All right, good call. Thank you. We're going back in the lines in a moment to Rangers fans. What are you feeling now? The new era. I mean, it's 6 months since the 49ers conglomerate came into the club, but a lot of change. They've made mistakes, and we hear Andrew Kavanagh saying that yesterday. They're fronted up right away, so it's a new manager. I mean, that's 3 managers in 5 months at Rangers. There's a new director of football to come in, and there's a new chief executive. Rangers fans, you know the number: 0808 17 17 700.
The Go Radio Football Show with Burger King. Enjoy the £5.99 regular Whopper meal. Juicier than ever and bursting with flavour, with fries and a drink. Order now on the Burger King app.
Let's go!
Mark Guidi is in the house, distinguished journalist. Peter Grant, what a career you've had. Peter, I saw you online. They showed you a few Peter Grant goals recently.
That right?
Yeah,
Wow.
against Hibs I saw as well. That came up online.
That had been the double centenary season.
That was it. Yeah,
and God rest him, it was a great Andy Gorham's goal. I always told him that was my favourite goal because he was in goal.
What a keeper, wasn't he, as well?
Unbelievable.
And great camaraderie between you all. But hey, listen, for 90 minutes, then hell for leather, but then afterwards,
for sure, Paul. That full group, Durrant, Derek Ferguson, they were all pals of mine. So Coy State, every one of them, Andy Gorham, and we all had listen, on the pitch, we'd have killed each other. As soon as the final whistle went, you in the dressing room, the game was by, and if you bumped into each other, if you were out, and that was only if you won, obviously, it was a few pints together, and then that was like on with your work again.
Rangers fans, what are you thinking? Andrew Kavanagh spoke to Sky. It was obviously it was managed very quickly, wasn't it? So Sky did well to get the kind of exclusive. It came out within moments. There was an interview on Sky, and he was asked, look, a month ago you said we're backing both Partick and Kevin, and then they've gone. What changed?
Yeah, Danny came in a month ago, as you commented on. Our focus, the first part of this season, the first part of our ownership period, has been on the sporting side. And that's where all of our attention went to for obvious reasons. With Danny coming in, he has started to improve the on-pitch performance, and that has created the space to allow Parag and I to look at other parts of the club with new eyes and assess what we need going forward. And that's what's led to this change.
Mark?
Yeah, I mean, it's good to hear from Andrew Kavanagh. That's what the Rangers supporters want. They've made a double decision, 2 senior roles at the club. Two guys have lost their job, and he's come out and explained why. He's also clearly very happy with Danny Röhl with the start he's made, and we can all see that. He's certainly made an improvement on what Russell Martin was doing. For Kevin Thelwell, Paul, he didn't see this coming. I know he had meetings planned this week in terms of signing targets for the January window. He did not see this coming at all. So this news for him would have been a bolt from the blue.
I guess if you were at the top of the tree in the company and you were new to it and you were looking at it, you would say, right, the new coach has started well. It's a crucial position in any football club, maybe the most important, just looking at both of you.
Yeah.
And they've spoken to him. You would imagine to say, right, look at the performance at the weekend. Rangers were also really poor on Saturday afternoon. They won 2-1. It wasn't a good performance. I met some Rangers fans afterwards who were back in Hamilton area just after the final whistle. They're not happy with it. So now's the time. He's getting a tune out of this team, and I think they would have been saying to him, what do you make of this squad? Because they spent 28.5 million. That's the figure in the summer.
Well, it would also be as well, Paul, you're now getting into that process where it's all hands on deck, 24 hours a day, looking at targets for January, looking at who you want to get out the door. And they've probably thought, okay, if we're going to do it, now's the time, because clearly they didn't trust Kevin Thelwell to get another window for them in his current role, and now they'll go and try and get somebody in to go and do that. And on the game itself, Rangers didn't play well, but it was 3 points, a crucial 3 points. It keeps it going for Danny Röhl. However, if you're Livingston, I have to say it was a shocking decision that Livingston didn't get a penalty. For the match referee and then for VAR to miss that, particularly VAR, having the benefit of reruns and TV camera. If you do not think that's a penalty, you should be nowhere near a whistle or nowhere near the VAR room. I think it was John Beaton that was involved. It was a totally unacceptable decision. A penalty kick, 100% for Livingston all day long.
And John's a top referee.
And it's unacceptable, Paul. You can't have that.
Are they going to be complaining to the SFA again?
Oh, you're referring to because they were on for 2 to 3 weeks about the Austin
Paul,
Trustee.
what did I say at the time? I said it constantly goes on. Yep. Incidents happen. You're going to go all the time when incidents happen. We heard it for about 3 weeks, and then they went back again. You've just sometimes. I never heard one complaint about it at the weekend. And I'm not saying it was going to be a goal, but it was definitely on target. Sure. Jack Butland probably could have saved it, but it's a penalty kick. Sure. But we've heard nothing this time.
That's true.
So that's the thing, and that's what I'm talking about being fair at times. Livingston, that I thought, done really well. But as Mark's talking about there, you're talking about a new manager coming in. Listen to the owner there. He's obviously looked at it and he's given the manager time. The manager's done something that Russell couldn't do, was win games, trying to look and assess what was going on. So while he's been assessing it, he's looking at the players and saying, who's good enough here? And I'm sure, if I was the owner, I'd be saying to him, what are you thinking? And there's not many of them who'd be coming up and saying, well, I like him and I like him and I like him. He's consistent. I look at the two centre-backs again at the weekend, one clearance, schoolboy, you see a boy lifting his head, he's so far away, make sure you cover each other, the ball goes boom, straight through the middle of them, goal. A brilliant touch by Yang and a good finish, but dear.
It's a schoolboy.
I'm talking about Paul, and that's why I talk about centre-backs. And I don't care what centre-backs Rangers have had this season, that's been a massive problem. And Danny Röhl must be looking at that, because he's worked with the best. He's looking at that team and thinking they're a million miles off. You know, they win games at this moment in time, but they're getting away with murder.
So I think that's what's come through the message that, hey, there's not a lot here to work with. There isn't. Rangers, there needs to be a major rebuild unless Danny Röhl can get enough out of them. Interesting what you said there, Mark, 2 minutes ago. So Kevin Thelwell wasn't expecting this.
Didn't see it come. I know he had meetings lined up and lining up other meetings for next week with a view to what was going to happen in the January window, trying to get things done. Obviously it's important, as Peter says, there's deficiencies in the Rangers squad, particularly in the central of defence, and they need to get reinforcements and get proper players, proper defenders in. But just as importantly, Paul, there's players there at the football club at Rangers who shouldn't be anywhere near a Rangers jersey, who are earning tens and tens and tens of thousands of pounds, and that's not their fault.
No, sure.
But bigger picture, Rangers are wasting hundreds of thousands of pounds a week on that squad, and they need to try and stem that flow as quickly as possible and get the guys out the door. That's almost as important as getting the good ones in. It's not easy, but you need to get the guys that shouldn't be anywhere near a Rangers jersey. You need to try and get them out the door in January.
Huge jobs to be done. What do you think, Rangers fans? 08 08 17 17 700. Let's go on the lines. Michael's on, a Celtic fan. Hi, Michael.
How you doing, Pierre? How you doing?
Hi, Michael.
Paul and Mark.
Yeah, good, we're all good, Michael. What's your main point tonight?
My main point tonight, guys, is I agree with Mark about fans going online and being disrespectful to Martin. Martin's a legend and he's a great man, you know what I mean? So, and what he's done for Celtic as well. And I would like him to stay as well, to be honest with you. Okay. Now I think that's a good idea what Mark said about just let the guy observe the new manager and just keep him. But I would, like Mark says, I would keep Martin O'Neill till after the cup final.
Okay, let's ask Stevie. Stay with us, Stevie, Celtic fan. Good evening, Stevie. Would you keep Martin on just now until after the cup final and maybe to the Rangers game in January?
Of course, obviously. That means you've got a steady ship there, guys. You know what I mean? So the new guy's going to come in, and I think it was one of the callers that commented. He says when Martin O'Neill walks into a changing room, I mean, you just see him when he's getting interviewed. I mean, Neil Lennon and all that still call him Gaffer. So he's got that respect. So if there's going to be a transition, then it would be good. I mean, if he could just help the new guys settle in, and I mean, obviously we need things a wee bit easier for him so that it transitions smoothly.
All right, Stevie, I'm going to come back to you. Here's what Martin O'Neill said after that late goal in 95th minute in what was a dire game to watch. Would that be fair? 0-0 until this moment when, well, let's see what you said about the winner.
Well, it was massive, absolutely massive. It was a great goal from a great player, and the game obviously heading for a draw. I'm not so sure that we deserved any more than that, and he scores it's a fabulous goal. Strange enough, I just said there in a little interview I thought he moved it out of his feet just at the edge of the box. I thought he could hit this, So it was a great goal. Maybe didn't belong with the game, but it was just great to win.
Mark, results are everything.
It's just about winning, Paul. Martin O'Neill's in there to try and change the flow that he inherited, and he has done. That's 3 wins in a row in the league, 9 goals scored, none conceded. A win against Rangers in the League Cup semi-final to give them the chance to retain the League Cup at Hampden December the 14th. I just think you begin into giving the third manager the job. All of a sudden it's new instructions, it's new tactics, it could be a new way to play football. Because what Wilfred Nancy will not be doing, Paul, he won't be keeping all of the current staff on. He's bringing his own staff, so it's new message, and that's right, it's new messages. But just now I think you're getting into a crucial 3 or 4 game period. There's a chance to go top of the league in the next couple of weeks, and there's a chance to win a cup. Why would you change it? Martin O'Neill's getting a tune out of them. They believe them, as the Celtic fans have said there that have called in. He's a leader. He's got gravitas. He's got knowledge. He's got experience. He is not fazed by the job, and he wants to win. As Peter said, believers, Martin O'Neill wants to win. He wants to walk away this interim period as big a success as possible. I don't think the time is right to change the manager. Wait until after the cup final and put Wilfred Nancy in charge on December the 15th.
I would go longer than that, Paul. I said it earlier. I would go at the turn of the year, give him a bit of time to assess the squad from afar without the pressure that goes along being the Celtic manager. Martin knows what the pressure that goes along with a Celtic manager. Röhl's doing a little bit of it at Rangers. He's winning games, not playing well, but they're winning. And it could go the opposite. You could maybe get into Celtic, maybe not win a couple of games. There's a pressure on you right away. You could lose to St Mirren, and St Mirren is not a gimme in the cup final.
Sure.
That's for sure. And for me, Martin O'Neill for sure in that. I would keep him longer than that so he'd be there with that manager, helping him and guiding him and giving the manager a bit of time. But also I would say to the manager, if Big John Kennedy's not there anymore, he's got to look at Mark Fotheringham and Sean, if that's the 2 guys that's been in place to help him. 100% he has, because Celtic and Rangers are different.
Continuity.
You've got to have people there that say no, then listen to them, say no, that's not what you do. This is Celtic, we have to do this. And that's very important. If you bring a completely new staff in that don't understand that background, I think it's difficult. And we've talked about Rangers not having that. I think Celtic would be remiss of them. Maybe Sean or Mark don't want to do it, if that's been working along with Martin that close. If they want to do it, keep them involved with that first team, because that's vital for me.
Can I ask all of you, why are we in a position where the 2 great teams in Glasgow, 2 of the great teams, and the money that's spent, I mean, this is big business in Glasgow, at Celtic and at Rangers, agreed? The budgets that they've got, I mean, we talk about Bruges and all the rest. This is not good enough. Look at the state. The state's a bit strong maybe, and I know they're 2 very different squads, but they're both substandard at this time of the year. Do you not think? Mark, I'm looking at you. I'm going to ask the guys as well.
I think, you can't keep going back to it, but it's relevant to the question you've just asked, Paul. It's like, you look at Celtic 10 months ago against Bayern Munich and look at it now, incredible. And you'll have to rip that team up, and it makes me think that what Brendan Rodgers said in his second spell back very, very early, he said you need to keep renewing it. A team now is a maximum of 3 years. The classic example of that is Hatate and Maeda.
Absolutely.
I mean the nicest possible, they don't want to be there. They've been there too long. You need to move those guys on. They've come here, they've been fantastic in their first 3 years, but you sell them on, they want to go down the road or go to Germany, whatever it is, double, treble their money, and rightly so. Celtic a few quid. There is a danger you keep players too long, and Celtic's seen the classic example of that with Hatate and Maeda. So you do need to keep fit. You'll always have it. Celtic had a Scott Brown 5 years ago. They've got a Callum McGregor now. But most players get a turn on them for 2 or 3 and move them on. And that's what I'll go back to it. That's where Celtic have really missed out by not signing Lennon Miller. Brendan Rodgers wanted him in the door. One of the best young talents in Scottish football and British football. He was there for Celtic to go and get a hold of, and they missed the boat. The hierarchy didn't get the deal over the line.
Do you think they realise that, Mark, though? Because I've listened to you over the months. Do you think they've got that humility to say, do you know what? They should have said that at the AGM. We have made some mistakes. And I don't think that came across. They're too slow sometimes. They've had a great track record. Van Dijk, all the rest of it.
But even recently, Paul, you've got to say that about Nicholas Coon. He's getting some criticism in Italy. He didn't get on the other night there, and they won 5. They were 5 up early, and he didn't get off the bench. So the timing of getting rid of him was spot on.
Spot on, exactly.
So what I'm saying, the Maeda one's a strange one, because I told you in the summer, and everybody was giving me criticism for it. He should have been sold in the summer, but they should have had people in to replace him
and
prior
leave
to
with
that.
his head held
Absolutely.
high. He was a hero for Celtic.
It was never going to be that again.
Okay.
That's a fact.
53 goals. Yeah.
So if you're getting 22 million, now people are talking about 6 million.
Yeah.
You know, you think it's very unusual that they allow that to happen.
And look at the Rangers squad. You know, they sold Egaman, they sold Des as their top scorer, and they've been left with, well, they're not up to it at the moment. Chermiti, Miovski's not what he was. Danilo.
Chermiti's a strange one, and I know the boys getting a lot of criticism because of the value.
Yeah.
If they could have got him on loan, that's my biggest criticism. If they could have got him on loan, why the hell did you pay that amount of money? It's quite incredible.
My information was there could have been a deal with Everton to take him on loan first of all. Yeah, I think Everton would have been receptive to that at the time.
With the option to buy. Yeah.
I don't know the full ins and outs, Paul,
No,
but certainly Everton would have been receptive to a loan deal.
Michael,
they didn't need to buy him, certainly not at £8 million.
Michael, you're going to have to spend wisely, well, in January.
I think they need a whole, to be honest with you guys, I think Celtic need a whole rebuild.
Yeah.
And I would like them to keep Mark Fotheringham and Sean Maloney and Stephen McManus, because and I'd like Mark O'Neill to stay as a director of football. I still want some of the board members out, because I don't think they'll ever change their ways.
Yeah. I heard you on Friday, Michael. I know, and listen, you're entitled to that opinion. I get it. Stevie, what do you feel? January.
Again, obviously, you've asked me this before, pal.
I know.
If Mark O'Neill's there, then if he's going to stay at the end of the season, then let him buy players. Obviously, they're going to be big bullied, defenders, midfielders and stuff like that. The new guy, I agree with Mark. That it's December the 15th. Is a good date. But as Granty says, make it a wee bit longer, just to make the transition. Again, let's just get it right. I think that's what I'm going with that. Let's just get it right. You know what I mean? This is because Maeda, Hatate, as Mark said, they should have been moved on, and we freshen it up and we try and stay hungry. I don't think Celtic look hungry. I don't know if Peter agrees or disagrees with that.
I would also say, see that, I know Peter's saying, I don't have a problem with that. I'm just saying, December the 15th, there's a clear message to the players. You're working with Martin O'Neill, Sean Maloney, Kevin Forey and Gavin Strachan, Steve McManus. That's your team. They're your leaders. They like them, they've settled them, they've got a lot of respect for them. Go and win a cup for them. Go and beat Hearts. So that brings that certainty rather than that game to game. Is it the manager out the door, or is Wilfred Nancy coming in? What's this? There's a certainty in a crucial period for the next 2.5 weeks. That's the players. This is what's happening. That's you going, and then the change is happening. So go and get the next 2 or 3 weeks over the line and do what needs to be done.
See, I think that's what they should do. But that's why I'm going longer. That's why I'm going to the turn of the year and saying, keep Martin in place. Martin knows exactly what's happening. The Celtic supporters end up knowing who the manager is. He's going to be the manager. It gives the manager time to concentrate what he knows. Looks at the squad, looks at all the games, goes and sees the games live, sees all that. And if Martin's willing to do it, Martin, you're the boss during the week on the training pitch. You'll pick and select the team. You're everything like that. We come to the end of where it's January, and then see at the turn of the year, we know what signings we need. The manager knows what he needs in the squad. Martin sat with the new manager and said, listen, I'd recommend this to you, but this is your call. And I think that's what he needs. I think he's going to need that, because I've no doubt Celtic know who their manager's going to be. I've no doubt now.
It's probably Nancy, isn't it?
So that's what I'm saying.
Do you think it is, Peter?
I don't know, Paul, because you keep hearing another name flies up now and again.
Sure.
So you're thinking to yourself, so if it is, we know it's him then. So you know, listen, look at the squad, sit fair far, watch it. Where it's at Celtic Park, because it's not a young coach and it's not a manager that's looking over his shoulder thinking he's going to be sacked. Martin knows the deal. Sure. Martin knows that he's going to be there for a period of time. The thing, and Martin, maybe we're sitting here, maybe Martin knows how long he's going to be. Martin does 100% deserves to be the Celtic manager for me to the turn of the year to help the new manager, because Celtic is a different beast. Look at the Rangers turnabout that you've had so often, and that shows you Glasgow is unforgiving. Celtic have lost 2 games this season. Rangers have lost 1.
You said that before the show, and Hearts have lost one game.
Lost 1.
Incredible, isn't it?
But that's
no wonder Brendan Rodgers, and look, he wasn't blameless, but no wonder he was going, what's happened here? What happened in the summer of 2025 at Celtic? What happened? They were in a position of strength.
That the standard of player, not all of them, but too many, the standard of player in the last few windows has been subpar.
Yeah.
Should be. I said it when I got about Rangers. Some of the players that have been brought to Celtic, and I don't believe they're Brendan Rodgers' first targets. Okay, damn it, we'll get into all that. Yeah. But certainly the standard of player for a Celtic jersey for first team, miles off it. Absolutely miles off it. And they'll need to raise it in the coming windows. If they don't raise it in the January window, they will not win the league with that squad. They will absolutely not win the league with that squad.
Guys, thanks so much for your call. 0808 17 17 700.
The Go Radio Football Show with Burger King. Save big with 6 chili cheese bites for just £1.99. Crispy on the outside, smooth and spicy on the inside. Order now on the Burger King app.
Let's go! 0808 17 17 700. Where do you want to go? Yep, we're the World Cup, and of course it's a week on Friday. We'll get the draw.
I booked up today, Paul. I thought I'm going to do it before that because it'll be too expensive and the draws me. So I thought I booked up today.
Where are you going to fly into?
I'm going to base myself in New York.
New York.
Yeah, I'm going to base myself in New York and take it.
I can't afford it, Paul. You see all these press men, they're getting their backhanders all the time. You know what I mean? Now we're finding out, Paul. You know, now we're finding out.
Grant, you're more than welcome. Come get my room.
Get me Beltrami.
But you're talking about the World Cup,
yes.
Right? Ronaldo.
Yep.
3 game suspension.
Yes.
2 not to stand at this moment in time.
Yeah.
That means so he can play in the World Cup.
It's Ronaldo.
But that's what I mean. I'm delighted he is playing, but it just shows you
entertainment.
It shouldn't be rules for some and rules for others.
But it is. That's life, isn't it?
Well, interesting to see if it had happened to a Scottish player. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. No, they would have.
They'd have been banned for the 3.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. There's rules for some and rules for others.
Brings us on to Danny Röhl, the Rangers manager, head coach, speaking at the weekend. I wonder how he's feeling. I think he must be. Well, he was employed by, it was Kevin Thelwell and Patrick Stewart, but they've gone. But for him now, what a time. Is that 4 wins in a row in the league? And of course, they've got Sporting Braga. They'll fly in tomorrow for the game on Thursday. We haven't mentioned Europe yet. So not a great performance at the weekend, but they got the win. It was a tough win.
I think I said this to my team today. It was a hard-working victory, not more than less. It's 3 points. The first 10 minutes we scored, and then you felt, we are comfortable, we can carry on, and it feels easy. Then we start to be a little bit, we're not 100% focused in the small details. Our pass quality was not fast enough, then we slowed down. Then was an easy long ball, and then of course every opponent bring then effort in. We lift them with the 1-1, and then they stay compact. We changed then something in the halftime from the positioning to break them a little bit more on the last line. It was then better and better. But finally then the impact player from the bench today helped us, gives us a lift. We know that we have to improve this game, but all in all, 4 wins in a row. If you asked me 4 weeks ago, I would take them.
You take them, and that's it's big for him. Fernandes got the opening goal, set piece. The new coach was there, and he was vocal by the side of the pitch. Here's the player.
Look, I haven't played in a while, and I felt like I was growing into the game a bit, sloppy bits. But look, I'm overall happy with my performance, and I'm happy with the result as well.
I mean, obviously they'll be happy with the 3 points. That's what it's all about at the end of the day. And great for Fernandes. A good set piece, a really, really powerful header. I mean, he got up to some tune. Nobody was going to beat him to that ball in the air, and it was a great header. He didn't cover himself in glory with the goals Peter mentioned earlier, but of course it's a new partnership, Fernandes and Jenga. I think it was for me. Jenga won't do, Paul. If there's a get out in January to send them back to Wales, I think you've got to look at it and also cut your losses in Fernandes if you can. However, you say Danny Röhl's in the door. He's got them going because under Russell Martin it was clear to see Rangers were going nowhere, but they could be right in the mix. It's a massive month, Paul. Hearts go to Celtic Park, Rangers go to Tynecastle. Massive month, a real proper look at how the league table after January 3rd, next 4 or 5 weeks, going to be absolutely brilliant.
Back to Andrew Kavanagh then yesterday. So much changed. 48 hours, less than that, Peter, 36 hours later. He was asked on Sky, what was he looking for now with these changes?
Parag and I have analysed the club's needs. And as we reflect on what the club needs today and where Kevin Patrick are, we think we need something different.
Yeah, something different, a bit more from him. And what is different?
I want to be really careful not to throw dirt on either of them. I think the world of both Patrick and Kevin, they've been great professionals. They've worked tirelessly for the club. And I just don't think it's appropriate to sort of give a compare and contrast on what they did and didn't do right and what we're looking for in the future. And so I'll keep it simple to say that as we look forward, we want different executives to help us lead the transformation of the club.
And what about the operations? What about people who have been brought in recently, including Kevin Thelwell's son and also Dan Purdy and the others? So he didn't go into specifics, but he said that there's no other changes at the moment.
Everybody who's contributing to the club has the chance to stay. I will say the same thing that I say to everybody, which is that in a high-performing organization, everybody is accountable, and that starts with Parag and myself and goes all the way through the organization.
You have to. Everyone's accountable.
Yeah, that's the way it's got to be. And and one thing that that's will be reassuring to the Rangers supporters, Paul, is that Andrew Kavanagh might not be here full time. He's over in the States. But he's very much got his finger in the pulse. And he is here to do well for Rangers. He's here also as well to imagine to make profit. For himself, the consortium as a business. But he's got his finger in the pulse, and he clearly was not happy with how it's been going, inverted commas, upstairs, and they decided to make a change.
Why did they do it now? Peter, I'm going to come to you. He was asked, the fans' protest, did that was that a factor in the decision making?
We think our supporters being vocal about their views is fantastic. I've really enjoyed getting to know a lot of them on a one-to-one basis. I've enjoyed the fan panels that we did last time I was in town, and we always like to be aware of what they're thinking, but we've come to this decision based on our own data, our own review, our own analysis.
Peter?
I agree, that's the way you can only do it, Paul, because I'm going to take Liverpool as an example here. We were talking about how brilliant Liverpool's window was in the summertime, the amount of money they spent, they couldn't believe it. Richard Hughes and the other lad, they were getting fantastic praise. Now Isaac's not playing well and they want Richard Hughes' head. No, that can't be the case. You wanted all these guys in, and you have to be very careful. And that's when you've got to take the emotion. It's very difficult. Supporters are emotional. I didn't agree with what the Rangers fans were doing with Stuart and Thelwell at the airports. I thought it was ridiculous, or hotels, whatever it was. I thought it was ridiculous. They should never have got that close, and I thought it was unfair. Yes, you can understand, but there's times and places where you can do all that, and it's very important. I think he's right. His boy should only be judged on his job, not what his dad done. I think that would be unfair. If the boy's good at his job, he's only in the door, I'm only believing, a couple of weeks. So, okay, maybe putting him in place was at the timing for himself wasn't ideal, when he was under a little bit of pressure. So maybe that was something he's got to look at. But I think as a club, Rangers are thinking, right, okay, it's not. I think it's a lot to do with Danny Röhl. I think he's saying he's trying to do something here. They've spoke to him and he's looked about, and the one question they will ask him, how many of these players are good enough to take Rangers and be successful with Rangers? And I think he's given an answer which has maybe shocked him. If he doesn't know that much about football, he'll soon know that in Glasgow, because you've only got one place to be, and that's number one. And are these guys good enough to be Rangers, take Rangers number one and be fighting for trebles and whatever and be good in Europe? And his answer can only be no. And that's, I think, what's made that instead of going through another window, that's why he's made the call.
Mark, news is coming up next, but Fraser Thornton, the acting CEO, club director as well, industry giant from the drinks industry. We all know him. We know him pretty well.
Former chairman.
Indeed. So he'll steady the ship, you would imagine, on a day-to-day basis while they look for a new chief executive.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's been the chairman of the club, so he's been, at the forefront of the boardroom, keeping control of things. He knows what it is about. He's a good steady set of hands. He knows Glasgow, he knows Scotland, he knows Rangers, and right now that's a perfect fit, and I'm sure that Fraser will have a role in the process as well, advising Andrew Kavanagh and the other guys about the best way forward.
News is next, then we're back. We're going in the lines. Robbie, after the news.
The Go Radio Football Show with Burger King. Enjoy the £5.99 regular Whopper meal. Juicier than ever and bursting with flavour, with fries and a drink. Order now on the Burger King app.
Let's go! The Flame Grilled Whopper from Burger King. the most food-filling burger.
Is it though?
Is that?
Yes, a slightly better version of you.
I don't understand.
Just like the new Whopper that's juicier and tastier than ever before. Same, but hits different. That's my line now.
Oh, sorry.
Whopper never tasted so good. Order now on the Burger King app.
The Go Radio Football Show with Burger King. Save big with 6 chili cheese bites for just £1.99. Crispy on the outside, smooth and spicy on the inside. Order now on the Burger King app.
Let's go! Hour 2, let's go on the lines 08 08 17 17 700. The games tonight, don't forget Motherwell against Hibs, Partick Thistle against Dunfermline, and we've got Alloa against Inverness Cali Thistle. And it's 20 years to the day since the late, great George Best passed away, and we're going to speak to Peter, who played against him. Mark, we remember him as well. What an outstanding player. And we'll speak about George Best very shortly. But we're going to Paul, a Rangers fan, in a moment or two. But Robbie has been waiting there. Robbie, sorry to keep you. Good evening.
Good evening, Paul,
Hi.
Peter and Mark. How are you doing, guys? All right?
Robbie.
Hey, Robbie. Good. Yeah, I think that's, what is it, 2 hellos? 3 hellos for you there. So you're all right, Robbie. Don't worry. Robbie, what are you thinking?
Aye, so I just want to, just before I get on to my main point, the national radio station last week after Scott McTominay's overhead kick, I can't mind who says it, but they said it in the aftermath. They says, well, I'll tell you one thing, Ronaldo couldn't score that these days because his hat would get dislocated if he tried it. And what happens at the weekend? Ronaldo goes and scores an overhead kick. So there you go. Speaking of the devil after all that stuff with the national, I just thought that was a wee bit funny, and I thought I'd tell you that story. Unbelievable.
I tell you what, they did all right though, didn't they? They had the rights, often the bridesmaids and all that. But they were the bride on that. That was a brilliant game to be covering live, and they did it well, didn't they?
Absolutely.
See the enthusiasm that was there. That's what we need.
It was a great interview with Steve Clark, touchline with Kelly Dalglish at the end and James McFadden. That brilliant insight from Steve. Yeah, it was really good.
It was an omen that Kelly was there.
It was absolutely.
She was in here beforehand.
Yeah, brilliant, great presenter.
You were giving her a few tips of the. No, Kelly is absolutely brilliant. But Robbie, isn't it funny that it's the commentator's curse, isn't it? You say something and then the opposite happens.
And then he goes and does it. Yeah. Unbelievable free kick he scored. I just want to get on. I'll make this point, Mark. It's just about communications. I believe you're involved in media management, PR consultant or something like that, Mark. And I ken you're a former journalist and interviewing folks. So it's right down your street what I'm about to say. Okay. It's just about Celtic in general and specifically Michael Nicholson, Mark. Now, Hearts CEO Andrew McKinlay does a quarterly review speaking to the fans, updates 4 times a year. There was one just a few weeks ago that he done, speaking to the fans, all updates about what they're doing, what they're going, what's happening, what's not happening. 4 times a year this man's coming out. Number 2, Rangers, as much as they've had their own problems, Mark, you've probably seen them yourself. That boy, as much as I've dismissed that boy, Kevin Felwell, coming out, sporting director, videos on the Rangers website, speaking directly to the fans. The other guy, Patrick Stewart, again, communication. He done a couple of videos, no long. I think one was back in Clermont, and there was a recent one he done as well.
They went down like lead balloons, though, I have to tell you. Sorry, Robbie.
Number 3 run number 3 is Dundee United head of recruitment, a guy who's not even 30, introducing himself, how he got into recruitment, how all the data analysis works around Dundee United, coming out and saying this. No, that's just 3 clubs. I went a head of recruitment, a CEO, a sporting director, and Hearts again. Now, what is happening with this guy, Michael Nicholson, Mark? He comes out once a year, his video is shown in the EGM standard, speaking alongside the manager and all that sort of stuff, and he recently put his name to a Green Brigade statement today with the police. You never, ever hear I mean, even the guy doing it Manchester United. Again, I'm jumping about here. The guy doing at Manchester United.
Right. Let's try and keep it.
Even he was. Right. So, what do you think of this, Mark? I mean, he's not even coming out and speaking to the fans.
Mark.
Well, he's made it a policy, rightly or wrongly, of his, no doubt, been given guidance and advice on it, and he's decided to be his own man that way. Peter Lawwell was chief executive for nearly 20 years. Peter was very vocal. Dom Mackay, albeit he was only there for 3 months, but Dom came out 2 or 3 times, and Michael decided he wanted to go down a different road. I don't think he needed to be as vocal as what Peter was, but certainly I think that actually saying nothing year in year out, apart from maybe once a year at the AGM, was the wrong tactic as well. When you're chief executive, you need to come out a couple of times a year and address things, and I don't think the Celtic supporters were overly impressed with him. And I think the Celtic collective had a meeting with him maybe 3-4 weeks ago, albeit it was behind closed doors, but minutes of the meeting were made public. The thing is now for Michael, he's not going to change it. There's no point in changing now, because it looks as though you're pandering and you're giving in. And if he was going to change, he would have changed at the start of the season after the last transfer window. So look, in many respects, I have a lot of sympathy for him. I know Celtic fans will say he's a chief executive, he's highly paid. I get all that, but some of the criticism towards him will have affected his family. I got it. So I have a lot of sympathy for him in that respect. And over the piece, you know, he's helped deliver success to Celtic. But I said in the summer, the chief executive, maybe sometimes the role can be too big in terms of there's too much to cover, and therefore maybe Celtic should be looking at getting, in inverted commas, a transfer expert in. Someone that can just go and deal with transfers. So important, in and out. Just somebody that totally focuses on that for January and for the summer. And you report into Michael Nichols, because delegating is if you're a good delegator, then you can be very, very good at your job. You don't need to be front and centre of everything. However, it looks as though the Celtic fans aren't really having him. There's a lot of people that don't want to see him in the job, but he's a good person, Michael Nicholson, and I wish him well.
And on the Green Brigade, some of the behaviours, Robbie, they have to be called out. Some of the things that have been happening, and Peter, I'm looking at you as well, it's not what should be happening at football grounds and not at your old club.
No, well, I go to Dens Park. I didn't think that was typical Celtic supporters. They've never done that, especially anybody else who's got around, you know. And I didn't agree with that. It was only that situation for me. The rest of it, Paul, I keep the politics out of it for me. I agree with Martin in respect to it. I think the summertime should have been spoke about, and the supporters should have knew why things weren't signed, or players weren't in the door, or why guys were sold when we never had enough strikers like Adam Ida, all that sort of stuff. I agree with that 100%, and I believe it's not a letter, it's not anything else. Somebody's got to sit and explain it. This is how it worked. We went in for these guys, we couldn't afford them, they were asking for too much. I believe that they're taking a hell of a lot of attention away, and people wouldn't have been happy if you still want to get players in the door, of course, but they'd explained the situation, say, right, we've now offered $1 million or $5 million or $10 million for him, but they ended up wanting 15 million.
So what do they do now, Peter, Mark, Robbie? What are they going to do? Because it's kind of toxic with some
Paul,
of the Celtic
I think it's
supporters.
too far gone.
So what do they do?
I don't see how they can come back together. The Celtic fans that are currently unhappy in the current Celtic regime, but I'm on record saying it, a lot of respect for the Celtic guys that are there in the hierarchy. However, it is time for change, and you can't sweep the board. You know that, Paul. You can't say, the board out and 7 or 8 of them away. You can't do that. But there has to be a process where change comes. They need new ideas. They need new ideas. Yeah, sure. Celtic is a massive football club. It has massive, massive potential worldwide, and they're not tapping into that potential. Internally, Paul, the hierarchy, they need to be better. They need new ideas, and they need some people, not a person. They need new people to come in and drive that on, because I think it's very, very stale.
And do you think Dermot Desmond and his son Ross Desmond are in tune with that? Do you think that they will say, because they're really, Dermot Desmond, billionaire businessman, has done brilliantly. Surely he's ahead of the game. Usually the people at the top are ahead of the game, and he'll say, we do need to change some things. There's a kind of impasse just now. There'll have to be concessions. Things will have to change, because the communication lines are kind of broken. Because I heard a lot of what Robbie said, I think people would agree with. Quarterly updates sound good. I mean, I just said about the Rangers thing, Robbie, honestly, they went down like lead balloon. The Kevin Thelwell, the Rangers fans weren't having it, and Patrick Stewart, I mean, I know he came out early on, but Robbie, come back in.
I just want to say about the Celtic collective putting like Sharon Brown, Michael Nicholson and Dermot Desmond putting their faces on posters saying their time has expired. Now, here's what Celtic, and nobody's going to change my mind about this, here's what Celtic should have done. See when the chairman what's his name? I can't remember his name. The guy was the chairman. It wasn't Ian Banker. I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was Ian Banker. But Peter Lawwell came. Peter Lawwell was away as a chief executive in 2021, and he came back as the chairman only a couple of years ago. Mm-hmm. That was the worst thing that Celtic done. I'm not having a go at Peter Lawwell with success as a CEO and steps back as the chairman. It's just that was the time to bring somebody else in as a new chairman, a fresh bit of blood into the boardroom. And I can understand a lot of the Celtic fans, as much as with the success, they're putting faces on posters, your time's expired. Ken White, Paul, because see, a lot of them in the boardroom, a lot of them have been there in the background, moved into different positions, like, for example, Michael Nicholson, who the CEO, he was previously in the background. Yeah. There are just too many folk on that board that have been there for too long. And the worst thing that they've done was bringing back Peter Lawwell. If he'd been out for a couple of years and bring them back in as chairman, they should have brought somebody, a fresh bit of blood, a guy in his mid-40s with a Celtic fan with a lot of business background. They should have, that's when they should, because at the end of the day, you can't just remove a full board. What you do is it's just like building a team. It's building a team.
Sure.
You drip feed.
No, sure, Robbie, you're absolutely right. I mean, sack the board.
That's what they shouldn't have done. They shouldn't have brought Peter Lawwell back.
What does that mean? But for Peter Lawwell, and I'm not an apologist for Peter, but he'd say, wait a minute, I'm one of the most successful chief execs of a football club in Britain ever. So, but I hear what you say, Robbie, as well. They did bring in a guy in his 40s. He was called Don Mackay. Nobody knows what happened in his 3 to 4 months. I'd worked with him a little bit. The Scottish Rugby Union, very impressive individual. Peter Lawwell, very impressive individual. And I know that he would wind up some other fans because of the kind of power base that he had, but that he was looking after Celtic and obviously in many ways Scottish football when that was appropriate. Right, Robbie, I'm going to bring Mark back in at this point. Hold on, Mark.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that would be interesting to hear Don Mackay's taking it, but I take it, we're never going to hear that now. Perhaps he did want to get and change things, Paul. He wanted to modernise it. He certainly gave that impression. Maybe he faced resistance internally. Who knows?
I agree with Mark.
But it's moved on from that. But overall, the hierarchy, most of them, Paul, have been very, very good for the club. But I would put this, Peter, as a football man, Paul. You're in business. Would you have the same manager for 20 or 25 years? Things evolve. Look how much football's changed in the last 20 or 25 years. How you handle players now, coaching, sports science, etc., etc. So to have the same board, the same executives for 20 odd years, I don't think it's right. And then that's not against the people. It's in terms of doing what's best for the football club. That's why there needs to be change.
Peter, does it all go away if they keep winning? If Celtic keep winning,
it's the most important. Listen, I don't know whether it'll go away, Paul, but the biggest thing is you've got to keep winning. Because as I say, Celtic have lost 2 great games this season, and it's been under a barrage of intense pressure coming from the supporters to the board, the team not playing particularly well, the manager going, all these things. And they've done exceptionally well to keep in there. That's why I'm saying Martin O'Neill's done exceptionally well just to get the few results in that, because that's what you've got to keep doing. And the pressure does feel to the players because you need the supporters. Celtic always need the supporters. It shows you when they lost 10 to Rangers when they're 55, they had no supporters in. That shows you how important. So you need them with you all the time in that door. So there has to be some coming together. They definitely need that support because remember, that's what a support. And at this moment in time, it's too fragmented.
Robbie, thanks for your call. 0808 17 17 700, the Go Radio Football Show with Burger King. Tomorrow it'll be Whopper Wednesday with Andy Walker in here and Richard Foster, who I see is now assistant manager at Waterford in the Irish League. So Richard. We'll pass that on tomorrow
right,
night.
You said Whopper, that usually means telling lies, doesn't it?
It is. Well, yeah. Let's get on the lines. Paul is on, a Rangers fan. Good evening, Paul.
Evening, Paul.
Evening, Paul.
For being on the show tonight. Evening, Peter. Evening, Mark.
Hi, Paul.
Just before I make my main point, just to the Celtic fans out there.
All right.
See, as a Rangers fan and going through all the years we've went through, just be careful what you wish for.
Yep.
Celtic have got stability. I totally agree with Mark saying you can be in there too long, and I do agree that what Robbie said, you could maybe tweak things, but listen, you get charlatans like Craig White and people like that you could end up with, so just be careful what you wish for. As a Rangers fan, the story with Thelwell and Patrick Stewart, I heard a wee rumour, Paul, that Barry's name was mentioned as a sporting director, potential sporting director,
Well, I asked him last night on the programme. I said, sporting director, they're talking about Rangers connections. Is that the kind of role that Barry would want? Now, he said, I would always do if Rangers want me to do, if it was the right thing. But he didn't show an appetite for it. But he certainly didn't say no. And Davy Weir, I just heard Mark saying half an hour ago, it's not going to be Davy Weir. He's just gone to Strasbourg.
No.
Yeah, so it's not going to be Big Davy. So why not Barry? What do you feel, Paul?
From what he was talking about with the kind of players he would want to bring to Rangers, the Scottish spine and things like that, I'd be up for that, definitely. I think that's what we're missing. And I know Chris Boyd was another guy that came out and said, how many times Mark and Peter have Rangers went down to the English Championship or League One, and Joey Bartons or, no, I could name a whole list of players that have come up through there, and they just don't cut the mustard, do you know what I mean? So I would like someone like Barry who would maybe influence the American owners and maybe say, do you know what, we're kind of being snobbish and no going for talent that's on our own doorstep. And I've said that, I don't know how many times I've been on your show, Paul, but we've missed a lot of talent through there, where it's Lewis Ferguson, Aaron Hickey,
I know.
Josh Mulligan, the names go through, do you know what I mean? So I'd be pleased with that if that was the case.
Peter,
can I ask you something, Paul? We're talking about Martin O'Neill at Celtic. Know who I would take to Rangers? Graham Souness. That's who I would give the job to.
As
that go between.
Whether he would come in.
No, but that's what I'm saying. I would have a word with him. Let's think back. He was speaking. He was speaking about the fact that Frank Lampard. So he obviously seen something in Frank Lampard that could handle Rangers. And look how Frank Lampard, the job that he's done at Coventry City. You know, so Graham Souness still knows his football. And I know they've spoke to Graham before. Whether Graham's got the time and all the energy maybe to do it, I don't know. But I think someone like Graham, people would listen to. He's talking to the manager. He knows he's not wanting the manager's job. He's in there to help the manager. Very similarly, as I say, Martin O'Neill. He's there to help, not to hinder, not looking over the manager's shoulder, saying this is the type of players that come to Rangers. They maybe not be the best players, but the type you need, because that gets you success at the start, and then you can build on that. And that's why I think somebody like Graham Souness, for me, would be a good shout for Rangers Football Club, even whether it's short term.
And I heard Paul mention the Alec McLeish as well. Legendary manager at Rangers. I sense it would be somebody younger coming in that position rather than, Graham Souness is 71 now. Fit as a fiddle, still swimming the channel.
But what I'm saying is, Paul, would you listen to Martin O'Neill?
Absolutely.
100%.
Graham Souness? Absolutely.
That's the point I'm making.
Mark, what do you feel?
I think it depends how Rangers are going to define the role. Like I say, director of football, sporting director is something. So what I would say is, for example, if Barry wanted to be head of recruitment, I think something like that would suit Barry. You look at the other thing you've got to remember is he's been the manager of Rangers, albeit in an interim period. Do you want to go back as a head of recruitment? You've been the manager. I don't know. Only Barry would know that. But what we do know is we're pretty sure that had Barry stayed, we're going to try and sign Lawrence Shankland in a free from Hearts, a no-brainer. I think we're going to try and sign Scott McKenna, left-sided defender. I think it was in a free transfer from Spanish football, no-brainer. One or two. It wasn't going to be all Scottish guys.
Josh
Mulligan, but he was certainly going to look
at
a market that was under his nose, and quite rightly so.
Vaclav Cherny, not a Scot, but
he knows the drill. He's been at Rangers, etc. So when you look at that, put it this way: would you rather have had Barry Ferguson signings or Kevin Thelwell signings?
Paul?
100%. 100%. And
sure.
Good shout by Peter with Graham Souness. I want somebody in that, someone who knows the club, is going to influence is to maybe go for talent on our doorstep. And that, the other thing that Martin O'Neill's brought back to Celtic, I don't know what the guys think, is the kind of there's no hassle in lumping the ball up or doing long throw-ins, just changing things rather than playing the Guardiola way, if you want to call it that, all the time throw. But someone in the mould of Graham Souness, Barry Ferguson, or Alec McLeish. What about even, I don't know what you think, but Alec Ferguson, maybe? I don't know if that's maybe. I don't know, maybe.
That's not going to happen, Paul.
I don't know. No. He's not going to go day to day, but he's been around the club a bit more. Paul, lots of calls coming in. Thank you so much. 0808 17 17 700. Back on the lines after this.
The Go Radio Football Show with Burger King. Enjoy the £5.99 regular Whopper meal. Juicier than ever and bursting with flavour. With fries and a drink. Order now on the Burger King app.
Let's go right back onto the lines. Laurie is on, a legendary Celtic fan. Good evening, Laurie.
Paul, I'm sorry, but I'll have to strike the first note of discord today in the programme, and it involves you, Paul, if I may say so.
Okay.
You, moments ago, alluded to Graham Souness's age, 71.
Right.
As perhaps been problematic or an impediment to any possible appointment to an executive role at Glasgow Rangers.
Yep.
Paul, I have to tell you, age is only a number. I am a fellow septuagenarian of Graham and Martin O'Neill and Dick Advocat. So let me throw a couple of stats at you, Paul.
I'm loving it.
Dick Advocat has just masterminded the qualification for the World Cup finals, a country, Curacao.
Yes.
A population of 160,000, 8,000 more than the city of Dundee. The little General Dick is 17 years of age. The Blessed Martin is 73. And, there have been some people, I'm not going to have a go at you regarding this one because you've never suggested his age was an impediment. But other people have on social media. Martin O'Neill is 73. I don't think it's such a pressure cooker for him to manage Celtic at 73 years of age when one considers that he's the same age as Vladimir Putin and he's 5 years a junior of Donald Trump. The two guys in charge of the most powerful countries in the world. So there you go, Paul. Graham Souness, I have no doubts, would be eminently qualified to carry out any duties at Ibrox.
Well done, Laurie. I'm
taking it. Mea culpa is what I'll say. I know I'm so far off that septuagenarian milestone myself. Listen, great call there. Ross is on from LA saying, get off air. Laurie, give him a break. He's listening in LA. No, listen, age should be no impediment. In fact,
that's what I'm reminding you of, Paul.
You're absolutely right. I love it.
Do you know a wee story about Dick Advocat? And he's just taking Kirk out to the to the World Cup. I'd written Arthur Newman's book with him in 2006 and we'd get Arthur had arranged Dick Advocat to do the forward. At that time I'm sure Dick's managing South Korea. Anyway, he's over in Scotland at a training camp and they're going to the World Cup in Germany in 2006, and Arthur, when we were sitting having a cup of tea, he says, what's your plans, boss? Arthur's asking him, he says, well, I'll do this, and I've got another job lined up. Of course we didn't know at the time it was a Zenit St Petersburg job and they won the FA Cup with him. He said, then after that 2-3 more years, then I quit. Time to put the feet up. Family time. About 20 jobs later, and 17 years later, he's still going strong. Good on him.
It's absolutely true. Yeah, I mean, you're right. Donald Trump, Vladimir Putin. So you know what I'm going to do tomorrow night? I'm going to find out more about Putin because I'm going to the Glasgow Philosophical Society. I am, Laurie, tomorrow night because Martin Sixsmith, the distinguished author, my brother-in-law, is speaking, and it's about Trump and Putin and what's happening. And remember, Martin has written for the BBC The History of Russia. So I'm going there tomorrow night. I'm taking that not as a penance, far from it. I'm looking forward to it. So Laurie, every day's as good. Just shows you. I know I glibly say, I think my point was maybe just the day-to-day pressure though of being, see the player trading and all the rest of it these days. Laurie, I would come back. Listen, I love your comment, right? Accepted. But I don't know about the pressure at that level at 71 years of age, whether or not you would cope. And it's the same for Martin O'Neill. I don't know. Short term, yes. Long term,
but Paul, you put a younger one in.
Yeah.
They don't know that pressure, but they will feel it a lot more, and they don't understand it, and they have to get it right. Graham Souness would get in there and say, it's not just a footballer, it's everything else round about it that he brings.
Common sense.
That's the point I'm trying to make, and it helps a young manager, even though he's young, and the young manager knows he's there to try and help and not to be a success. He'd point to him and say, I like Mark Guidi. Well, I wouldn't take Mark because Mark's this. You've got too many like Mark on that side of the pitch. What do you think? All these things. I think the experience of Graham Souness would do that without the pressure. Just talking about pressure, I think it'd be the opposite for him because he's comfortable with that because he's lived it. And that's why I was saying for that period of time. And that's why I'm saying the exact same with Martin O'Neill at Celtic Football Club.
It's also as well, if you can, I think the key to a lot of it, in particular talking about guy at that age level, it's just delegating well. That's key to it. That's key to it all.
Absolutely.
Okay. Laurie, do you remember the days we used to talk about football and all the programs? Do you remember that we used to talk? Because I'll take,
that's the reason. The reason I come on was to talk about football. That was just a wee jolly cheap. A few minutes aside.
Yes.
I wanted to say, talking about ageism and football combined, Peter, I hope this doesn't make you feel antiquated, but my son Matthew's 46 years of age. The first Scotland game I ever took him to see at Hampden Park, Peter, you played in the Rouse Cup against Chile.
Oh, yes,
in
it was.
1989.
Yes, 2-0.
Absolutely, Peter. And here's my question to you. I know you were capped twice, right? And I'm a bit of a bookworm, but for the life of me, I cannot remember who your second cap was against.
No, my first cap was actually the Saturday before against England. I made my debut and I get an Old Firm game at the time and the Old Enemy. That was my two debuts. Celtic against Rangers.
You played that game against England, Peter?
Yes.
That
yes, I did.
off goal, Peter?
No, it was Steve Bull scored for
Steve Bull.
Bull scored. Gaza, I think, made his debut for England that day as well, maybe.
Right.
You know,
Right.
Was Franz Beckenbauer there?
Brian Robson, I think he could have been.
I think he was. He presented I was there covering the game.
Brian Robson, Peter Shilton in goal and all that sort of stuff. So it was a right good
I
England
interviewed
side.
Shilton trackside.
And that was my debut, was against England. And then that was one question. I was at a question and answer one night. And we were sitting at a table of 5 or 6 people. So there's all 10 tables or something. And it was one of these quizzes. Who made their debut for Celtic against Rangers and their debut for Scotland against England? So I'm thinking Joe Craig. I put Joe Craig, and everybody's sort of looking at him like Joe Craig, Joe Craig, Joe Craig. And then it comes round and says, oh, you must have got this right, such and such. I never even got it right, and it was myself was the answer.
How did you get that wrong?
I wasn't even thinking, Paul. I was thinking Joe Craig because I think Joe played one game or something, scored and played really well, and never played for Scotland again. If I'm right.
Okay.
I didn't know if it was against England, but I just taken the gamble on it.
I remember being in Edmiston Drive live on Richard Park, threw it over to me and said some news coming from Ibrox just ahead of the game, and I said so it's Jimmy Nicholl's last game. I think that's right.
That's correct.
He sent off. I said, and Celtic, I've got a youngster, I think a 17-year-old thrown in, Peter Grant. And Laurie, I remember it like it was 40 years ago.
That would have been 1989, Laurie. Am I right, Laurie? 1989, that game?
That's right. Well, I remember the midfield three in that game, the Rouse Cup against Chile. There was a threesome in midfield, and Peter's two partners were Paul McStay and Murdo McLeod.
That's correct. That's correct. And I'm sure Alan McAnally scored, if I'm right.
Yep. Could have been.
He didn't.
So we're trying to get the audience up here, guys. Come on, you're killing me here. We'll go on for another hour. Laurie, let me ask you this. It's 20 years ago today that George Best died. And what are your memories of that wonderful player, George Best?
Absolutely incredible, Paul. You know, I think that as a Celtic man, my favourite winger of all time, of course, was Jimmy Johnson. But George Best was just absolutely phenomenal. I mean, the guy could play with his left foot, his right foot. He was just a legendary player. It was so sad that his demise was so early and preventable. But you know what? I'm privileged to have said that I've seen him. You know, in my lifetime, just amazing. Probably, in my estimation, there's 4 British players I hold in the highest esteem: George Best, Kenny Dalglish, Jim Baxter, and Jinky.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
Not bad for that.
Peter, I don't suppose you played against him. I
did in a friendly as a young player. We went up to Inverness, Clacknacudden, I'm sure it was at that particular time. And they were opening their stadium or something, and George and Bill McMurdo were playing for the opposition. I think Bill McMurdo had it wrote in the contract that he had to play because he looked like Doppelhanger. It was George because he had the beard, and I'm thinking there's 2 George Best here. I didn't know Bill at the time.
He fashioned himself on,
and I was only about 16, 17, and George was a guest of playing that. So that was.
And what was it like? What's it like to play?
I just listen. It was what a talented player, but I was fortunate enough. I even seen him with Hibs when he came up late on in his career. I watched him a lot in America. You seen all the clips from Manchester United and all that, the European game when he goes through and scores the goals. It was just a wonderful, but he was so quick. And I agree, Jimmy Johnson was a big hero of mine, obviously. And you're talking about Kenny Dalglish. Laurie's talking about Kenny Dalglish. He does an unbelievable thing. I don't know if you've seen this Kenny Dalglish. It's on Prime Video.
Oh yes, watched it. I loved it.
He's talking about
Kenny.
He talks so highly of Kenny Dalglish. George Best is. It's phenomenal.
Right.
You know, he says he loved watching him, and that takes a hell of a lot when George Best is saying that about you. But what a player he was. Never seen that, obviously that much of him, but what an outstanding player.
Right, with George Best, Eddie Gray.
Yeah, of course.
Eddie delivered one of the eulogies at George Best's funeral. Yeah, Eddie. I didn't know it was Eddie told me we down seeing him. Peter, and then obviously Stuart Stadley, Celtic player Stuart, still miss him.
Sure.
And Eddie would say when he was in London with his wife Linda, would always meet up with George. Great pals. They'd meet up in London, and whoever George's latest flame was, you know, it'd bring them along. And Eddie, and I didn't know that they were that close. Yeah, Eddie gave one of the eulogies
over in Belfast. You raised me up.
Yeah, so the airport named after him. Everything. And I've watched a couple of documentaries on George Best and the Manchester United, and what a great talent. And he seemed, I obviously don't know him at all, but he seemed a really down to earth fella. As well.
I played against him in a charity game. Jimmy Johnson played in it. It was Newlandsfield Park, Laurie, and Ross King played in our team. It was the Glasgow All-Stars. We were clearly
There must have been two balls then if they two were playing.
Steady on. Ross played brilliantly. I think I struck the bar, but we played against George Best, so he nutmegged me 3 times. I was chuffed. He was what a player. And Bill McMurdo was playing as well. And you've now answered why. And it wasn't Ricky Hatton. It was Hatton who was
Derek
Hatton, who was the
political guy
in Liverpool.
Yeah.
Anyway, there we are, Laurie, 20 years ago. For your club, we don't have enough time left to say how does it get sorted, but we've got Gregory on, a big Celtic fan, who's saying it needed somebody at the AGM who would sort of mediate. I think that's what he said. I'm trying to find it. There's so many messages here. I think somebody like Gregory, who's the best in his price range at mediating things. No, he's really good. But he said it needed to be, he said, look at Rangers the way they handled it yesterday. I know that was a one-on-one interview, different from having an AGM. I get it. But Celtic they need to handle it better. At the moment, the discontent with the fans.
Yeah. I agree. And, you know, and some of the Celtic supporters as well could be better. Yeah. And I think the strategy as well, that this, you know, I get what the Celtic collective are trying to achieve. I think there's a real willingness in terms of what they believe is right for their football club. And don't forget, Celtic supporters collectively put in more than £40 million into their club every year, and they deserve to be listened to. How I think their strategy and the way they go about some things, they could be a bit cuter in what they do, but certainly the Celtic board as well, there's improvement required. Paul, you can see, you know, what's the most important thing Celtic on the park. Was it good enough in the summer in terms of what's been delivered now with the team? No, it wasn't. So they need to get things right, and hopefully when the new manager comes in permanently, that there's a chance for Celtic to go and stride forward.
Young Laurie, thank you so much for your call.
Cheers, Laurie.
You're welcome.
Cheers, Laurie.
Thank you.
The Go Radio Football Show with Burger King. Save big with 6 chili cheese bites for just £1.99. Crispy on the outside, smooth and spicy on the inside. Order now on the Burger King app.
Let's go! Peter Grant is here along with Mark Guidi. Tomorrow night it's going to be Andy Walker and Richard Foster. Some of the headlines. What's it going to be tonight? I wonder. Motherwell against Hibs. I'll give you some team news in a moment or two. Peter, this game, what are you thinking overall for it? I'll give you the teams in a second.
It's going to be interesting, Paul, because the way Hibs play, they're trying to play on the front foot and put you under pressure by boiling it up there. With Motherwell trying to play out. This is a game that they could get caught in. I think this will be one of their biggest tests. So, okay, they played at Celtic Park and they get caught out with it. You know, they're losing the goal late on. This is another one, I think, because I think Hibs are built for this sort of press and putting the pressure on them. Well, Motherwell will do something different, go a wee bit longer to start with, which I would do if Hibs are right up the pitch. So I'll be intrigued to watch this, Paul.
Okay, there was a few injury worries for Motherwell. Here's the team. It's Ward, of course, in goals. Katrumbis, Paul McGinn, the captain. Welsh, Stephen Welsh, of course, on loan from Celtic. Tom Sparrow, Elliot Watt, Liam Gordon, Priestman, Charles Cook, Just and Maswanisi, who of course scored a double at the weekend. For Hibs, Salinger in goals, of course. Hanley, Scotland hero. Bowie, who just missed out, scored at the weekend, of course. Boyle is the captain. The Cadden brothers are in, so Chris Cadden's in there, number 12. Iredale, McGrath, Nicky Cadden, Mulligan, Barlaser and Rocky Bashiri. So 2 strong lineups. Mark, what's your feeling for this one?
A cracking game, first of all.
Yeah.
Paul, you know, you look at it, Motherwell sixth position, 18 points. Hibs 3 points ahead of them in third. All to play for. And let's say whoever's going along tonight, Motherwell fans, Hibs fans, neutrals, I think they're in for a treat. Great night for football. You know, if you're a player, that's, you know, it's cold, but you're moving about with a wee bit of zip on the surface. And I think there'll be goals in that game tonight, Paul. Both teams really go for it. Try to be on the front foot. Lots of chances. Goalkeepers will be busy. Are you asking me to pick a winner just now?
Yes.
I'm going Motherwell 3-2.
Oh, 3-2. That'd be some game.
Yeah, 3-2.
Gary, you're going to enjoy it. Mark says it's 3-2. But the fact that he's still working, if he was that good, the pools would have made a fortune. Peter,
I'm going to go for Hibs to win, because I think they'll get more crosses in the box, and I think that's where it could cause my Motherwell problems. The Cadden brothers will put crosses in the box, and I think Hibs do that very well, and I'm not sure Motherwell will be able to defend the amount of crosses that come in their box.
Who's going to come top of the Edinburgh table? I know there's no such thing. Is it going to be Hearts or Hibs? Because the Hibs was mentioned last night as well, the beginning to come good. Peter, what do you feel?
Well, I said to you, it's amazing when you talk about Hearts. I mean, they had 3 or 4 players out at the weekend, but that happens. Celtic have had it. I'm sure Rangers have had it with their centre-backs and that as well. So all these teams when they're out, but it just shows you how fragile you can be. I thought Aberdeen done well at the weekend against them. I watched that game and deserved to win the game, I felt, even though Hearts had a bit of pressure second half. On that, Paul, it's a funny one. I said to you a few weeks ago, I think Derek's got to finish above them.
Because of the start.
I think he's got to finish finish above Rangers. How many points had away for Rangers? You know, at that time Celtic was slightly different because they were Celtic were always in sort of touch with them. I thought that was always going to be nip and tuck anyway, but because there were so many points at one stage in front of them, it shows you how much a pressure. Mark will tell you that's the
it's
way
only
the world,
9 now, as you know. Game in hand for Rangers.
But the way it was I don't know, was it 15 at one stage or something like that
2 weeks ago?
You know, and that's what I'm saying. So all of a sudden, if they finished above Hearts, they'd be asking questions, Derek, and that is football management at this moment in time, and that's why people question it, saying, well, how could you lose that amount of points, considering when they put the money in, the chairman, it was at Brighton, said that he never had any input in Derek coming in.
That's right, Tony Bloom didn't, and that wasn't a great,
and that was always, I'm thinking, you shouldn't have said that, even though that was the case, you shouldn't have said it.
The big 2 or so week, Mark, I think we'd agree the way they're playing at the moment.
Yeah, it's there.
What a chance.
It's there for somebody, you know, like I said, this month, Hearts go to Celtic Park, Rangers go to Tynecastle, you've got the window coming up. So yeah, I think Hearts will still be in the mix, and I have to say, I know you weren't on Friday night, Paul, but credit to Barry Ferguson with our predictions, and Barry predicted an Aberdeen win, which I found surprising, but he called it. Barry got it spot on. And it's clear Hearts missed, you know, they missed Halkett, they missed Shankland, etc.
Beningame as well.
Beningame as well, but they're still right in the mix. That's the bottom line. We've got a title race. At this moment, we have a proper title race going on.
Enjoyed the show on Friday night. It was great on the way back from.
Well, they've got 2 match winners.
Yes,
they've got the boy Braga. And they've got the boy Kiriakis.
Yeah, of course.
On the left-hand side.
Yes. They can change the game for you. You've got Lawrence Shankland, but we all know what Lawrence can do. But I think they've got 2 game changers, and they 2 boys. And that's why I think Hearts, they won't go away. That's for sure. And I think it's down to they 2 boys.
What about the Partick Thistle team? Do you want the team tonight for this
big
game?
What a great game for Hull tonight.
Isn't it?
Mark Wilson against Neil Lennon.
It's amazing.
Brilliant game.
Exactly. Just looking at it, I reckon 2 changes have been made by the Jags. Macbeth and Stanway coming in. I think that's Ashcroft and Samuel on the bench. You know how I know? It's on the X, that's why I know. It's not my in-depth knowledge of the Jags. Although Connor on the news, whoosh, he's heading up to Firhill. Gary, the producer tonight, is heading to Fir Park. So it's Clark, Redding, Smith, Chalmers, Macbeth, O'Reilly the captain, Fitzpatrick, McPherson, Stanway, Watt, who scored of course at the weekend, Les Sosa up against Dunfermline. I don't know if Neil Lennon's sent you the team yet. Was he playing? Does he play in the sevens with you? You were playing today? No.
It's the guys at work don't play.
All right, okay. Give you Dunfermline. Who do you reckon on that one, Peter?
I'm going to go for Dunfermline in it.
Your old team?
Yeah. I'm going to go for Dunfermline 2-1. I think it'll be a very close game. I just think I've got a sneaking suspicion for Dunfermline in this game, and Mark's done an unbelievable job there and get some fantastic results. I've just got a funny feeling for Dunfermline in this one.
Mark, what do you reckon?
Again, a cracker, Paul, an absolute cracker.
I'll give you the team.
Yeah,
and that might affect what you're going to say. It gives you always buys you a few moments. Yeah, exactly. Bert Payton and all that. So Tyrrell, Chilakoa, Mullen, Hamilton, the captain, of course, Otto, Gilmour, Todd, Caceres, McLeod, Abdoulaye, Todd, Andy Todd, and Fraser.
And
So
Andy
that helps
Todd's
you.
sons, great.
Yes.
The old Dunfermline
Yeah.
boys, his sons doing it. It could be a real close one. It really could go anyway. That the championship. That's what's the beauty of it. I'm going to go against Peter. I'm going to go Partick Thistle 2-1.
And I went Dunfermline.
You went
2-1.
Dunfermline, you did indeed. Okay, enjoy. That'll be so. I think a big crowd tonight. For sure. And then what about Europe, Peter?
I forgot about it.
Exactly.
I forgot
Just
about it.
48 hours time. So Celtic fly out tomorrow to Holland, and into town tomorrow comes Sporting Braga from Portugal. Mark, we covered some games over in Portugal.
We did.
For
Braga
Rangers
beat
fans-
Celtic
yes,
comfortably as
that's
well
right.
a few weeks ago.
Any more from Danny Röhl? I'm trying to see if there's anything there that would indicate, give them some hope. What about Butland's performance at the weekend? Well, it's kind of moved on, hasn't it? It seems ages ago, doesn't it, with so many changes?
No, but
since
the
then.
interesting
What are you
thing,
thinking?
Paul.
Yeah.
And I said it at the time, and I know Barry and that maybe never played him as often. I thought Berjami come on and done really well at the weekend when I watched the game. I thought he came, and I think he needs a run of games. I really do. I think he's a good player. I watched him against Celtic, and I thought he was the best at playing against Callum McGregor, at playing that role, sort of being the defensive one, but then get into the attack quickly.
Was that late last season when Barry played him?
Hampden.
Hampden, right, just the other week. Sorry,
No, Hampden in the Cup last year.
Oh, right. Okay.
And he was excellent at it. And then he was in and out the team after it. And then when Barry and that, I could understand maybe he's fed up then.
That's his problem. He's not consistent
Yeah,
enough.
but with a new manager coming in, I thought he's maybe not seen as much as him. And I think he's got something that can make a difference in that position. I think he was played wide left. I think he was played wide right. I thought the 10 position for him is the ideal position for him because he does the midfield role well, but more importantly, he's in the box to support your striker. I'll be interested to see if the manager sticks with him.
Alan Fraser was on last night. He said exactly the same thing, Mark. He said Bajrami was the one in a dreadful game.
Yeah.
I mean, the two, Rangers and Celtic.
Yeah,
Awful to watch at the
Bajrami,
weekend.
not for me. I'm not saying he's not a good player, but I just don't think it's going to happen for him at Rangers. He's one of the guys I'd be looking to move on in January.
Well, Danny Röhl said, look, it's another win and that's big for us, but there's a lot more to come. We need a lot better and we need to improve.
Yeah, I wasn't here a couple of weeks ago, but maybe a couple of weeks ago we wouldn't win this game. At the moment we win these games, of course we can ask about how, but at the moment when I arrived here I said it's important to win games. We do this at the moment. Still space for improvements. This is a good part. Even now, today, new two centre backs together. This is also something what you have to develop. They need game minutes. Nedim got today first appearance since I'm arrived. And these are the small steps we have to growing together as a group. I know it was not the high quality game from our side, but 3 points, and this is most important.
Do you think Rangers how they're going to do you feel, against Sporting Braga?
I think Braga will beat them. I've been impressed with Braga at Celtic Park. I thought they won comfortably and played really well. I just think they've got too much for Rangers at this moment in time. I always fear for Rangers' back line when they play a back four. I fear for it all the time. I just don't think they've got whatever partnership, and I know he's got a couple of injuries now, which maybe
John
even,
Suter, of course,
which maybe even kills him a little bit more. Cornelius as well, and doesn't allow me to play.
You
a
like
three.
Cornelius, don't you?
Yeah, well, I think he brings a left sider to it. I think that's what he done. I was surprised he was left out on a couple of occasions, but I would play him, and I would keep a back three for Rangers at this moment in time, and get two guys nearer the front to support the front man, because the front man always look isolated. And I still feel they've got enough players to dominate in the middle of the pitch with more bodies round about it, because I think in every area of the pitch they need help. So that's the way I would work it if I was the Rangers manager.
Mark, where would you want to go? Who would be your front man? Who would you? It was Danilo at the weekend, wasn't it? And
I mean, Chamiti might come good, and maybe with Kevin Thelwell going, that could be the best thing that happens to Chamiti. In terms of just not having that tag being associated with Kevin Thelwell, being associated with what you strong word failure, but so that might be a good thing for Chamiti. But I've not seen anything yet to suggest he's going to be a Rangers number 9. I go with Danilo right now, Paul, but again it's something that needs to be addressed. But just to go back to the point about Bajrami and others at Rangers, they can't go in and do everything at once in the January window. They can have a wee tickle here and a wee tickle there, but they won't get everything done. And that's where Danny Röhl has to get better out of the guys that are already there. So he must be able to spot 3 or 4 that think you've underachieved. And Barami might exactly be one of them. You've not been consistent, you've hardly been in the team, but I see something I'm going to coach, I'm going to tell you what I want to do. I'm going to try and do something that suits your game to get the best out of you. And Danny Röhl will need to do that with 2 or 3 of the players in the team.
Scoreline on Thursday for Rangers?
Rangers v Bragg at Ibrox. I'm going to go 1-1.
1-1 you reckon, which would be a really good result. What about Celtic then? So they won right at the end the other night, and one of the poorest games I think any of us have watched for a while. I mean, Rangers game was terrible on the Saturday as well, but Celtic got the points. Martin Hill said there was a lot of frustrations in it.
It was just more than that really. It was the very fact that we never dealt properly with the ball. We had when we were in decent possession we give it away cheaply, and it didn't. I thought we improved a bit in the second half. We got a bit more momentum going in the second half, but still, we were just cheap at giving the ball away.
And of course, that came just after the AGM, which was abandoned. Did that affect the players, the off-field discontent?
That's a good point. I don't. I probably don't think so, but I'm not sure. I mean, when it was a continuation of not really supporting the team tonight, and it was just like sack the board the whole way through. I think I think there's just perhaps just an element that it might. I'm not saying it's going to affect Maeda, who probably wouldn't know what the sack the board is, So, but I don't think it'll help. I don't think it helps.
Mark, what's going to happen over there
on Thursday in Rotterdam? I think for me, Paul, it depends what final do. What kind of team that they put out. They're also going well, and Eredivisie over there, they'll start quite rightly as favourites. If Feyenoord fancy it, I think Feyenoord will win, Paul. And I think as well for Martin O'Neill, his focus will be on Sunday at Easter Road.
Peter?
I think it'll be a tough game as people expect, Paul. It depends what Celtic turn up. You know what I mean? Because Martin was right. I thought their use of the ball at the weekend was really poor. I thought at first it was because maybe the condition, because remember there was a bit of frost in the air. I didn't know if it was a pitch. The pitch looked brilliant, but you're thinking they're giving so many cheap passes away. I thought it was incredible. And St Mirren had an early chance for the cross early doors.
So
actually, I'm going to go for a draw. I think, as I say, I would take a draw now. So I'll go 1-1.
See you tomorrow night at 5. Thank you so much.
The Go Radio Football Show with Burger King. Enjoy the £5.99 regular Whopper meal. Juicier than ever and bursting with flavour, with fries and a drink. Order now on the Burger King app.
Let's go! The Flame Grilled Whopper from Burger King. The most food-filling burger.
Is it though?
Is that?
Yes. A slightly better version of you.
I don't understand.
Just like the new Whopper that's juicier and tastier than ever before. Same, but hits different. That's my line now.
Oh, sorry.
Whopper never tasted so good. Order now on the Burger King app.